The most powerful force in the world is not fear, not control, not even ambition. It is love. Love is the frequency that can shatter limitations, rewrite your story, and make the impossible suddenly feel inevitable. When love moves through you and is the energy that fuels your decisions and shapes your presence, you stop chasing life and start magnetizing it. You become the reason someone believes again. You become the reminder someone needed to choose hope over despair. And most importantly, you become the muse of your own story. A living example of what happens when love is not just something you give or receive, but something you embody. Too many people have been conditioned to see love only in romance, only in grand gestures, or only in the fleeting highs of passion. But the love I'm speaking of is not fragile. It is not bound to one relationship or one person's validation. This love is the origin point of every creation, every breakthrough, every moment of courage that ever changed a life. It is the love that looks in the mirror and says, "You are enough. You are worthy. You are already whole." And when you live from that truth, the way you speak changes. The way.
Love is the strongest force you will ever encounter. Not because it avoids pain, but because it has the power to transform it. It is not limited to the fireworks of romance or the fleeting rush of passion. It is the thread that weaves through every act of bravery, every moment of resilience, every creative spark that has ever shifted the course of a life. Love is not simply a feeling. It is an energy, a choice, a way of existing in the world that shapes everything you touch. When you understand love in this way, you begin to see it not as something you wait to receive, but as something you carry within you. An infinite resource that you can draw on no matter the circumstances. Think of the moments in history that truly changed the human story. They were not driven by greed, nor by fear, nor by domination. They were driven by love, love for justice, love for freedom, love for humanity, love for the possibility that life could be better. A mother holding her child through the night, refusing to give up hope. An artist painting truth into the world because they cannot bear to let beauty fade. A stranger helping another simply because they recognize the shared humanity in their eyes. These moments are not small. They are the proof that love is the foundation upon which every lasting transformation is built. When you carry love as your core driving force, you interact with the world differently. You listen more deeply because you are not just hearing words, you are feeling the heart behind them. You speak more intentionally because you understand the impact your words can have on another person's spirit. You take actions that might seem small on the surface but create ripple effects far beyond what you can see. Love changes the way you move through your day, and it changes the energy you leave behind when you walk away. The strength of love is often misunderstood. Some think it means softness in the sense of weakness, when in truth it is softness in the sense of flexibility. Able to bend without breaking, able to heal rather than destroy. Love can withstand storms that would shatter anything else. It is what allows a person to forgive, to rebuild, to start again after loss. Fear will try to protect you by building walls, but love builds bridges, and those bridges create new paths forward. Fear holds you still. Love moves you towards something greater. The beauty of love as a force is that it multiplies when shared. Unlike resources that deplete when given away, love grows stronger each time you express it. It grows when you choose compassion over judgment, when you stand beside someone in their struggle, when you see the potential in someone before they see it in themselves. Every time you give love, you not only change the receiver, you change yourself. You expand your capacity for joy, patience, and understanding. You become a greater channel for that force to flow through. And perhaps most importantly, love is the only force that unites rather than divides. In a world where differences are often weaponized, love dissolves the illusion of separation. It reminds us that beneath the surface, we are connected by the same human longings. To be seen, to be valued, to be free, to live a life that matters. Love sees beyond labels, beyond mistakes, beyond fear. It reaches into the truth of who we are and calls that truth forward. That is why love is the strongest force, not because it avoids pain, but because it transforms pain into purpose. Isolation into connection and limitation into possibility. It is the force that has always been within you, waiting to be fully embraced, and when you choose it, you become unstoppable. Self-love is the foundation upon which all other forms of love are built. Without it, every connection you create, every dream you pursue, and every boundary you set becomes fragile because it is rooted in a shaky sense of worth. When you truly love yourself, you stop seeking constant validation from the outside world. You stop measuring your value based on how much you are needed, praised, or accepted by others. Instead, you live from a place of fullness, which allows you to give without depletion, to receive without guilt, and to stand firmly in your truth without apology. Loving yourself does not mean you will never feel doubt, insecurity, or pain. It means you learn how to meet those moments with kindness instead of criticism. When your inner voice is harsh, self-love is the choice to soften it. To replace "I'm not enough" with that. With "I'm still learning and I failed with tries. And I can try again." It is not about pretending you are perfect, but about knowing you are worthy even when you are imperfect. This changes the way you approach challenges, because you no longer see them as proof of your inadequacy, but as opportunities to grow. When you do not love yourself, relationships can easily become a desperate search for someone to fill the emptiness you feel inside. You may overgive in hopes of being accepted, tolerate disrespect to avoid being alone, or hide parts of yourself to keep the peace. But self-love changes that dynamic completely. You begin to approach relationships as a whole person, not as someone hoping to be completed. You give because you want to, not because you fear the loss of approval. You set boundaries not to push people away, but to protect the energy you need to thrive. Self-love is also deeply connected to your ability to dream and act on those dreams. When you value yourself, you believe that your desires are valid. You no longer minimize them or convince yourself they are too big to achieve. You stop saying, "I'll start when I'm ready," because you realize that your worthiness is not conditional on success. It exists right now.
Yeah.
And from that place, you begin to take action, to step into opportunities, and to trust yourself to handle whatever comes. It also influences the way you treat your own body and mind. You begin to see rest as necessary rather than lazy, nourishment as care rather than control, and movement as celebration rather than punishment. You listen to what you need and respond without guilt. You let go of comparisons, understanding that your path does not need to match anyone else's to be valuable. Self-love has a quiet strength. It does not scream for attention. It radiates from within. People feel it when you walk into a room, when you speak with confidence, when you hold your ground with grace. It inspires others not because you are flawless, but because you are whole and unapologetic in that wholeness. Your example gives others permission to treat themselves with the same respect and care. Self-love is what allows you to live authentically. It gives you the courage to make choices that align with your values, even if they are unpopular. It keeps you steady when life becomes unpredictable. It reminds you that your worth is not tied to your productivity, your appearance, or your past mistakes. It is the quiet truth that you deserve love simply because you exist. And when you live from that truth, every relationship, dream, and opportunity you touch becomes stronger, deeper, and more meaningful. Being a love muse is about living in such a way that your presence naturally awakens something in others. It is not about preaching or forcing your beliefs, but about embodying the kind of love, hope, and light that people can feel without you saying a single word. A love muse is a living reminder that kindness is still possible, that resilience can coexist with softness, and that courage can look like compassion. You become a mirror in which others can see their own potential more clearly, simply because you are living yours. This kind of inspiration is not about perfection. In fact, it is often your imperfections, your struggles, your scars, your hard-earned lessons that make your influence so powerful. People are not inspired by those who seem untouchable or unbreakable. They are inspired by those who have been broken but chose to rebuild. They are inspired by those who could have grown bitter but chose to stay open. When you share yourself authentically, without hiding the journey it took to get here, you give others permission to be real with themselves. You show them that it is possible to walk through darkness and still emerge carrying light, carrying light. The impact of being a love muse often happens quietly. It might be the way you listen to someone without rushing to respond, making them feel truly heard for the first time in a long while. It might be the way you celebrate someone else's success without envy, showing them that there is enough room for everyone to shine. It might be the way you forgive when holding a grudge would be easier, teaching them that love is stronger than resentment. These moments may seem small to you, but to someone else, they can be life-changing. Being a love muse also means leading by example. It is not enough to tell others to follow their dreams. You must have the courage to pursue yours. It is not enough to say that kindness matters. You must practice it, especially when it is difficult. It is not enough to talk about self-love. You must demonstrate it in the way you treat yourself. This authenticity builds trust. People believe in your words because they see you living them. Your life becomes the proof that what you speak about is real. The ripple effect of this role is immeasurable. One act of love can inspire someone to do the same, and that person can inspire another, creating a chain reaction that reaches far beyond what you can see. The kind word you offer today might give someone the courage to face tomorrow. The encouragement you share might be the spark that helps someone take their first step toward healing. The compassion you show could be the reason someone decides not to give up. This is the quiet power of living as a love muse. Your actions outlive the moment. But being a source of inspiration does not mean you have to be endlessly giving without rest. Part of being a true love muse is recognizing that you too need replenishment. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and your ability to inspire comes from the overflow of love you cultivate within yourself. This means tending to your own well-being, honoring your boundaries, and remembering that you are not responsible for saving everyone. You are simply here to shine in your own way, and that light will guide who it's meant to guide. In the end, being a love muse is not about being larger than life. It's about being fully alive in your own life. It's about showing up every day with the intention to leave people better than you found them, whether through a word, an action, or simply your presence. When you choose to live this way, you remind others that they too have the power to inspire, to heal, and to create change. And that is how love spreads, one inspired heart at a time. Choosing love as a daily decision means understanding that love is not just an emotion that appears when life feels easy. It is an intentional choice you make regardless of circumstances. Every day you are faced with opportunities to either close your heart or keep it open, to either respond with fear or respond with compassion. Choosing love requires awareness. It is noticing the small moments where you could react with defensiveness, anger, or apathy, and instead deciding to respond with patience, kindness, and understanding. It's not always the comfortable choice, but it is always the one that leads to growth. There will be times when choosing love feels almost impossible. When someone has hurt you deeply, your instinct might be to protect yourself by withdrawing or lashing out. When you are misunderstood, your first reaction might be to prove yourself right rather than to listen and bridge the gap. When life feels unfair, bitterness might seem easier than acceptance. In these moments, love is not the easy path. It is the courageous one. It is choosing to see the humanity in someone even when you disagree with them. Choosing to believe in possibilities even when reality tries to convince you otherwise. This choice is not about ignoring harm or tolerating injustice. Results. Choosing love does not mean you allow people to mistreat you or remain in situations that drain your spirit. In fact, love often demands that you set boundaries, speak up, and protect your energy. It is a misconception that love is always soft and agreeable. Sometimes love is fierce, clear, and unshakable. Love for yourself and for the world means you refuse to let fear, hate, or resentment guide your decisions. You act from a place of principle, not from a place of reaction. The beauty of making love a daily decision is that it changes your inner world before it changes your outer world. When you choose love, you stop carrying grudges that weigh you down. You stop reliving past hurts in your mind, giving them the power to steal your present peace. You begin to notice beauty in the simplest moments, a smile from a stranger, the warmth of sunlight, the laughter of someone you care about. And these moments become fuel for your spirit. Love transforms the way you experience life because it shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from what's broken to what's possible. It also influences how you interact with others on a deeper level. People can feel when you are rooted in love rather than fear. They feel safer to be themselves around you. They are more willing to open up, share their truth, and trust your presence. Your choice to lead with love gives others permission to do the same, creating a ripple effect that extends far beyond your direct interactions. A single moment of understanding can change the course of someone's day, and a single act of compassion can alter the direction of someone's life. Choosing love is also a commitment to yourself. It is deciding that no matter what happens externally, you will not let the world harden you into someone you are not. It is a refusal to live in a constant state of defense, to let cynicism rob you of hope, or to let disappointment erase your joy. Love becomes your anchor, the steady place you return to when life tests you. And over time, this choice becomes more natural. Not because life becomes easier, but because you have trained your heart to lead. Choosing love every day means you live intentionally. You no longer wait for ideal conditions to feel loving. You create those conditions within yourself. You become a consistent source of warmth in a world that can feel cold, and your life becomes a living example that love is not just something that happens. It's something you decide over and over again until it becomes who you are. Love fuels action and purpose in a way nothing else can. When you are deeply connected to something or someone you love, your motivation comes from a place far more powerful than obligation or fear. It comes from a sense of meaning. This is why love is such a driving force behind great achievements, lasting change, and personal transformation. It creates a reason to keep going when challenges arise, to push beyond limitations, and to show up with full energy even when the path ahead feels uncertain. When you fall in love with your vision for life, it becomes more than a goal. It becomes a calling. It becomes a calling. You stop viewing your dreams as optional or as something to get to a one-day, and start treating them as essential to who you are. Love for your purpose gives you the courage to take risks that logic alone might talk you out of. You stop waiting for perfect conditions because you realize the passion you feel right now is already enough fuel to start. Love doesn't let you remain stagnant. It compels you to take that first step and then another, even when you can't yet see the entire path. This is why people who are in love with what they do often achieve extraordinary results. They are not driven solely by external rewards like money, recognition, or status, although those can come as byproducts. Their true fuel is the connection they feel to the work itself and to the impact it creates. This kind of motivation is sustainable because it comes from within. External circumstances might change, but the inner fire remains. Love for your purpose makes the journey itself fulfilling, not just the destination. Love also shapes the way you approach obstacles. When your actions are powered by love, setbacks are no longer signs to give up. They are challenges to navigate. You become more resilient because your commitment runs deeper than convenience. If something matters enough to you, you will find a way to adjust, adapt, and try again. This persistence is not forced. It's a natural expression of how much you care. You're not moving forward because you have to. You're moving forward because you can't imagine not doing so. This same principle applies in relationships and acts of service. When love is the fuel, you give generously without keeping score. You show up consistently, not because you are obligated, but because you genuinely want to be there. The quality of what you offer increases because you put your heart into it. People feel that sincerity, and it builds trust and connection that cannot be manufactured. In this way, love doesn't just fuel action, it amplifies its impact. Love for life itself is perhaps the most powerful source of purpose. When you cultivate gratitude and appreciation for simply being alive, every day becomes an opportunity to create, to connect, and to contribute. You begin to notice the small joys that make life rich, and those joys give you energy to pour into your work, your relationships, and your dreams. Even ordinary tasks take on meaning when approached with love, because you're not just going through the motions, you're infusing them with intention. When love fuels your action, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You are no longer pushed by fear of failure or pulled by the need for approval. You are moved by something deeper and more lasting. That kind of purpose is unshakable. It will carry you through the hardest days, inspire others to join you, and leave a legacy that extends far beyond your own lifetime's. When your actions are powered by love, you are not just working towards something. You are living for something, and that changes everything. You can be a catalyst for change simply by living as an example of love. Change does not always begin with massive movements or loud declarations. Often it starts quietly, in the way one person chooses to act, speak, and live. When you consistently show kindness, integrity, and compassion, you create a ripple effect that reaches farther than you can see. People watch the way you handle challenges, the way you treat others, and the way you stay true to your values, and without even realizing it, they are influenced. Your example becomes proof that another way of living is possible, and that proof can inspire someone else to shift their own actions and mindset. Being a catalyst for change means understanding that even the smallest actions can spark something big. A smile can lift a stranger's spirit enough for them to treat someone else kindly. A moment of patience with someone in frustration can prevent their anger from spilling into the rest of their day. A word of encouragement at the right time can be the reason someone keeps going instead of giving up. These moments might seem insignificant in isolation, but they accumulate into waves of influence that shape communities and even cultures. Living this way does not require perfection. In fact, your authenticity in both your strengths and struggles is what makes your influence relatable. People do not connect to flawless ideals. They connect to real human beings who make mistakes, learn from them, and keep showing up with love. When you handle failure with grace, you teach others that setbacks do not have to define them. When you own your growth openly, you encourage others to take steps toward their own. This transparency builds trust, and trust makes your influence more powerful. Being a catalyst for change also requires courage. Not everyone will understand or appreciate your approach, especially in a world where cynicism can seem safer than optimism. Choosing to act with love might make you stand out in ways that feel uncomfortable at first. It might mean refusing to participate in gossip, speaking up against unfairness, or offering help when others turn away. These moments test your commitment, but they are also the moments when your influence has the most potential to make a difference. People notice when someone consistently chooses what is right over what is easy. Your role as a catalyst is not to control outcomes or to change people by force. It is to plant seeds of kindness, empathy, and hope. Some will grow quickly and others may take years to sprout, but every seed has the potential to transform a life. You may never see the full results of your influence, and that's okay. Change often happens beyond our line of sight, but it still matters. The person you inspire today may go on to inspire hundreds more, creating a legacy that began with your choice to live in love. At its core, being a catalyst for change is about living intentionally. It's about waking up each day with the awareness that your presence affects the world around you, and choosing to make that effect a positive one. You do not need to be in a position of authority or have a large audience to create impact. Your circle of influence begins with the people you encounter every day: family, friends, coworkers, and strangers. Each interaction is a chance to model the values you believe in and to leave others better than you found them. When you decide to be that example, your life becomes a message. Without preaching a single word, you show that love is not just an idea. It's a choice that can shape reality. And as more people see and feel the difference you make, they too may decide to lead with love, carrying the ripple forward. That is how real change begins, with one person who chooses to live in a way that makes others believe they can too.